Hello, I'm going to present my proposal for Linux system or Linux server deployment that is needed. So I'm for the promiseland.com. So the design is that for the new data center is in Independent, Missouri. I'm proposing to set up a Linux file server using Ubuntu server. Even though I'm supposed to use AWS, but you can actually use even my Azu. So the purpose for this server is to give the 38 employees of promiseland.com a central place to store files and share documents and manage departments and data safely. So some of the purposes of this server is to support different teams in the company, including operations, infrastructure, application, and CRMs. Each team will have its own folder, proper permissions, and group access. The server will also help reduce the downtime and give the company a reliable place to store important files. The server will run these main services. The first one is Samba file sharing for department folders, and then we can have user and group management access control. We can also have the file for protection and automatic updates and system logs and monitoring. So it will also be an Ubuntu-based file server and support the employees I've talked about in the new data center, and also provide shared storage and secure access, and also integrate with the existing IT teams. So how we're going to partition the disk is that we're going to have 20 GBs which will carry the operating system files. We'll have 30 GB which is going to be for user directories where you can store files. We can have a shared file of 50 gigabytes for department shared folders, and then we can have system logs, at least 10 GB, and then swap or virtual memory with 4 GB and ext4 file system. That's the file system we are going to use. So all partitions will use ext4, which is stable, fast, and supports expansions. So the reason for this layout is that it's shared gets the most space between. That's where departments will store documents. We can use var. This is where logs separate security monitoring, and home is gives room for users' personal folders. And then we can have swap helps the system to run smoothly under heavy loads. So how so on users and groups, users will be created based on job roles and the information from the Promised Land organization chart. We'll have groups of infrastructure, operations, applications, CRM, managers, and then each employee will belong to a group that matches their department. So we'll use the user assigned based on department. We can have securities for every user, which is password policies, and also having sudo restrictions to who can use sudo and who cannot. The carriers are going to receive the read-only access to all. So the the permission strategy that we are going to use is that each group will have access to its own shared folder from given to them, and then we can have a group cannot access other teams folders, which means only a group, uh, if you're in a group, can only access the folders in that shared to that group, as number one states. All administrators will be added to sudo group. So the sudo groups gives the administrators the privileges to be able to use sudo commands. Regular employees will not have sudo privileges, which means they will be downgraded, and password rule will be minimum of 12 characters, expiring after 90 days, which means after 90 days, then they need to be set new password. So on the directors, these are special cases. Carriers will be added to a group called the managers, and there she will have the read-only access to all shared folders, but she cannot edit or delete any file. And this is set using the ACL command. So shared permissions, the shared folders will be created in infrastructure group, operation group, application group, and CRM group. So that's where the shared files are going to be stored. We'll have department folders, which will be inside the shared folder. So as you can see here, we have actually the SRV and then shared folder. So all the departments are going to be inside that shared, which means those departments, we have the infrastructure, operation, application, and that's where the users are going to be assigned. So permission will be for 770 for departments. That's the command we can use, which is C command of 770. We'll use ACL user for carriers, read-only access, and then we can have Samba enabled for network sharing. Samba will be used for network sharing. So we'll have folder rules, and some of the folder rules is that each department get full read-write access only to its folder, not other department folders. Other departments cannot enter or view the folders that are not in their department. So here is that are not in the department. So you can only view files that are actually in your department. Carriers here they can get read-only permissions for all folders, which means they can have the access to all folders in all departments, but they can only read only, they can't edit. Files will be protected using the correct group ownership and permission 770 for groups folders. So for a good server to be in place, there should be security measures that needs to be used. The first thing is to keep the system secure. The following steps must be included. I'll use the word must be included. And the firewall UFV, this UFW, which includes ensures that the this ensures that a certain number of activities are allowed to penetrate or to open, which means some ports can be open. We have allow SSH, and what the purpose of SSH is that you can access the server remotely. That's the only way you can access the server remotely on the command line, and that's why you will need to allow that so that the server admin can be able to manage the server remotely when the server has been hosted by a cloud service provider. Allows Samba file sharing because we are working with groups and users, then they should be shared groups, shared files, and that's why we need Samba sharing. And the purpose of denying all ports so that to ensure that there's no vulnerabilities or where the hackers or other people with poor intentions could try to access it. So permissions we are going to use SSH, allow SSH and Samba only. We are going to ensure we have automatic system updates and also configure the MOT configure for security notice. We are also going to have Chrome jobs reboot every 2 years, which means the server can reboot only after 2 years and be able to install all the additional packages. So we are going to have also the sudo restrictions. And this is that to ensure that only the system administrator will have sudo access, not the users. So normal users will be locked out of use using that command. System updates, we have to enable the automatic updates for the server to stay secure. So sudo updates, that's the command we use, or sudo apt upgrade. We have to display the message of the day. Where users log in, they will see a security warning reminding them that this is a company system and unauthorized access is not allowed. So this is to remind the users to be aware that this is a company system, and if they allow unauthorized users, then it's going to cause a problem. We are also going to ensure a scheduled reboot. So this to ensure that the system can reboot after a while, to ensure that the cron job reboot, the server can reboot after maybe 2 years for long stability. And this we do that by adding this command in the nano. So these are some of the commands you would use to add the cron job, and then you add yearly if, and then put the date, and then add that. So that is actually the proposal, Linux proposal for the deployment. But since I've already created the Linux system, I'm going to just show some of the overview of the things I've already configured in that given server. So I have my server. So my server is, it's here. So I've created the server called Linux, and this is on, it's an Ubuntu 22.04, and I'm accessing it through here. We'll connect via version, and since I've already connected it, I'm going to just open it. I've allocated 12 16 gigs, and this is specifically for the promised land so that it can be able to enable or do the services that we need. So I will go to it. Here it is. I've already configured a lot of commands, and what I'm going to do is to just confirm if the commands, if what I've really configured, it's actually functional. So the first thing I'm going to confirm if actually Samba is running. So that will do by running this sudo sys system ctl status smbd. So that command shows us that Samba is actually running and it's well configured. You can see that it's running here. No process, no groups, no process groups. So I'm going to show also that the shared directory has been created, and that is done by running the ls dash ld stroke srv doc shared. So this command, I think I've added it somewhere. Let me just copy that. It's here. It's a little bit okay. Let me Yes, you can see I've created it. We have a shared directory in that in on the server running. So we are going to check the status of UFW. So to check that, you go UFW, then status, and then it will show you some of the ports that have been allowed. But in our command, we wanted to block all ports. So you can see all the ports have been allowed, but now we are going to, so since we wanted to block all ports, so we can actually block the ports. So you can see we have stopped it, and if we check on the status, you can see it inactive. So which means all the ports have been closed because we closed the UFW. So after that, we are going to check the mounted disk, if the disk actually is mounted, and that is the short command, which is df, and you can see the disk, how it has been. So checking on the updates, I already added that in the nano file, and I have the command up here. So this is the nano file, and also I've already configured. So this is this command is it was used to reduce the privileges of some users, so that it gives only as the admin big the responsibility of using the sudo, and that we do it by using the vsudo, which means we reduce their privileges. So those are a few commands that I can actually show that I've been able to do it, and you realize that the server is running and I can configure all the others, like adding groups without having any problem. So thank you so much, and hopefully this has been more educative for you, and I'm sure you can follow along to add groups and also configure the server to meet your requirements.